I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good to see everybody tonight on this beautiful night. I know we have a lot of speakers and presentations, which I'm looking forward to all of them. But first, we'll do the roll call. Sue?
Mayor Lesser,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Forrest,
Here.
Councilor Bailey,
Here.
Councilor Carbone,
Here.
Councilor Clancy,
here.
Councilor Durick, Councilor Rhodes,
Here.
Councilor Timbrow, Councilor Zambrello. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. The first item on the agenda is we have several presentations and proclamations, and the first one is a proclamation for Pride Month, so I will read that. Whereas June 2025 marks the 56th annual celebration throughout the United States of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual Pride Month, and whereas the month of June was chosen to commemorate the dedication and bravery of those who led the 1969 uprising at Stonewall Tavern in Greenwich Village. And whereas the town of Wethersfield believes in working together with all members of our community to facilitate open relationships, provide safety, dignity, and a welcoming environment for all residents and visitors. And whereas Wethersfield recognizes and values the contributions in each and every resident makes to work, recreation, and civic life in our town. And whereas LGBTQIA youth are especially high risk of experiencing discrimination, mistreatment, and violence, and have increased suicide rates, the town is committed to ensuring that they are safe, valued, and supported. Now, therefore, be it resolved that June 2025 be declared Pride Month in Wethersfield, and that all residents be encouraged to recognize and acknowledge the contributions of this community as we continue to advance the principles of liberty, equity, and inclusivity for all. Next presentation we have is from the Wethersfield Tourism and Cultural Commission, and it's their annual update. Chris, that's you. So, Chris, thank you for being here.
Thank you. First, I'm going to apologize. Postnasal drip, so if I start coughing, you know why, but I'm sucking on a cough drop now. Good evening. So it's my pleasure to present our annual update on the Tourism and Cultural Commission. I'm Chris Trazik. I'm chairman of the commission, and I am aided and assisted in all the work of the commission by the shopkeepers, the Webb Deane Stevens Museum, the Historical Society, the Wethersfield Art Academy, residents, businesses, both retail and non-retail, the Historic District Commission, and EDIC. So the commission has been around for a number of years. We are really here to encourage visitorship, and with the visitorship, have people spend more dollars and raise the local economy. So last year, we had talked a little bit about how the commission was looking to update their marketing, and so we hired Connoisseur Media as a consultant, and we worked with her to create new branding, assistance in how to reach a wider audience through social media and advertising. So she helped us with creating a new look and a color scheme. Actually, the color scheme, I believe, is on the new town website, so kudos, it looks great. And we also put together a social media plan that included a playbook for recurring themes, timing, when things should be done, language examples, etc. I'm going to pass just a couple of sheets of paper over, pass around. Those are some of the posts that Jesse Smith has done for us. So our new tagline is "Make Your Day Historic," which is a play on the fact that we are a historic district, a historic community, but also when you have a fabulous time in town, it's a historic day and you have lots of memories. So it has been well received so far, and it has really been doing well. We are also looking at doing social mirroring, which is I can't even pronounce it, which is a new outreach technique. It's a case where you are taking existing social media posts, and then they are taken and they are put out as ads to a targeted audience. So people who may not follow historic Wethersfield will start to see some of these ads coming up, and hopefully we'll see more clicks through, and people will go, oh, this looks kind of interesting, let's see what's going on here. So it's a new technique. We're really looking forward to seeing some great results with that. We are continuing to do our rack cards that are being distributed at the visitor centers. And Jesse also created a nice digital promo that will be available on the promo boards. If you've ever seen them in some of the visitor centers, they're big boards and it has all the different towns and you can pick your town and, you know, see where you want to go. So we have a new promo that's going on that. It's also been a really good year. I think the momentum we've been building over the last decade or so is starting to come to fruition. We had more than 6 articles talking about how great it is to be in Wethersfield, how great it is to come and visit. And we have also seen a huge rise in the number of social influencers, particularly on TikTok, talking about how great Wethersfield is and what an experience it is, and people should come and try it all out. And this really impacts the local businesses because with the increased visitorship, it means people are spending more dollars locally. Great for business. And we've also seen a lot of new businesses coming in because of that. You'll also notice that we had more than 35 local businesses who got awards or best of awards through the Hartford Courant. That was up from last year, which means more people are coming, more people have great things to say about Wethersfield. And because we are a cultural district, we've been working with the Connecticut Cultural Districts and Fox 61. They are doing promos on cultural districts, one town every month, and Wethersfield will be featured in October on their Friday 10 a.m. broadcast. So as you know, the Commission has also been working on the America 250 plan. Our stakeholders and the Commission have been planning for the 250th celebration in 2026. With federal funding having been pulled in a number of different areas, including this, and tight state budgets, partners are looking to adapt existing community events to reflect one or more of the 250 themes that are going on. And the State Commission is also hosting Give 250 Connecticut, and that'll be the first 2 weeks of July, and it's really a crowdfunding opportunity for residents and people to support 250 celebrations locally in Wethersfield. So we are hoping that a lot of our partners will be able to receive some funds from that and be able to put on some more events as we're going forward. Just some simple stats. We are almost at 10,000 followers. We expect to hit a full 10,000 in June on Facebook. Our posts have reached more than 2 million people last year. That's a huge number of people. Instagram, as you might remember, we got hacked a little while ago, and so we had to rebuild our following there. We now have 2,300 followers, and we've reached over 200,000 people. We still have our e-newsletter that goes out to all of the residents. We have more than 1,200 subscribers. We have a 99% delivery rate. We have a 60% opening, which is actually pretty good for an e-newsletter, and then a 9% click rate going on. So we are going to continue our work. Next year will be 250th celebration for the United States. We are hoping that our partners and the Commission will be able to produce some great community events. And I'm open for any questions you might have.
Well, Chris, thank you, and thank you for all the work you and the Commission does. It brings so much vibrancy to Wethersfield. We appreciate it. Do any councilors have any questions for Chris? Well, thank you again. Those statistics are impressive. I have like 3 followers on social media and all those, so that's very impressive. And thank you for all your good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to move on in the agenda, and we're going to call a little bit of an audible, and we're going to ask Judy Keene to come up to her presentation. And Carolyn, I don't know if you're a part of it or just you're going to, So, and I think we have a quick video to show, right?
Yep. Carolyn's my moral support. I just want to say thank you to the Wethersfield community and especially to the town council. The Keene Foundation has thrived because of all of you. This video demonstrates the result of all of your support, and the ARPA grant that we got from the town council actually helped to pay for this video. And I think you'll see it's really very good, and it shows what we are able to do in the Keane Foundation.
Thank you, Judy. It's about 5-6 minutes long, right, Judy? Yeah, good, thank you. And we'll have our police come up after for their report.
Can we turn the lights down?
You want to dim?
Deane Foundation, where everyone plays and brings.
Our goal is to reach out to each child and family in the community to allow them to fulfill their potential.
Playing, creating, and learning. These are the ingredients for happy, healthy kids. In Wethersfield, Connecticut, more than 1,000 children enjoy Keane Kids After-School Enrichment Program at all 5 elementary schools.
It's an awesome opportunity for everyone.
I think they're great. Those experiences are like learningful. Maybe like you're having a bad day in school, then you can have some fun after.
There's so many nice people that it's fun to interact with. We make new friends, do fun things.
The Richard M. Keane Foundation is the organization behind Keane Kids After-School Enrichment Program, Keane Hands-On Learning, and the 9/11 Memorial Sports Center.
Dick would have been absolutely thrilled. He loved coaching, he loved teaching kids, and probably very proud of me that I did this.
The success of Keane Kids After School depends on partnerships between Wethersfield Public Schools, Parks and Recreation, and the Keane Foundation.
It's impossible to have a good after-school program and not partner with the school district or other entities.
Keane Kids After School also partners with many high-quality instructors, including Connecticut Science Center, Play Well, Abracadoodle, Skyhawk Sports, and Hartford Stage.
Direction. Yeah.
Keane
I get it
After
every
School
day.
is one of the best programs I've ever seen come into a school system. It is so enriching. It is so powerful to a kid's learning.
These classes give kids an opportunity to shine in ways that they may not shine academically.
Really does broaden their horizons, encourages the love of learning in a lot of different diverse ways.
What it gives is kids confidence. It gives them poise and knowing that they can do it.
Musical productions at each of the 5 schools are extremely popular.
I'm in a SpongeBob play, and I play as Mr. Krabs. I don't really sing in front of people a lot because I'm not very confident about it. But when I got this part, I felt a lot more confident.
I am a big fan of the Keane Foundation. To have my kids involved in an activity that they come home so excited to be involved in just makes it so rewarding as a parent.
My favorite part, actually, the opportunity to be able to get together with not only some of your friends, but also to make new friends and have fun with them too.
It truly has been life-changing. He's grown in confidence and in amazing ways.
Expressing creativity is part of the LEGO STEM Exploration Program.
A teacher shows us stuff that we can build if we want to. We can also just build whatever we want. Maybe there's some new pieces for you, or some new techniques of how to build.
I'm learning that I can take apart pieces from a set that you're supposed to make, and you can use it for other things to build. That's cool.
I think it's great to have something where the kids can do something different, more creative, or catered to what they like, because Keane has so many different options.
The after-school gym programs are a great opportunity for students to increase their fitness level through fun and exciting physical activities. Play and Create is a fun, hands-on break from screens with arts and crafts, board games, and interactive group challenges.
We make little bracelets and necklaces, and we also paint.
As a parent, you want a successful child, and you want them to be a well-rounded child. And through Keane, we've been able to get exactly that.
Several Keane Kids after-school programs keep learning fun while teaching science and engineering concepts.
We had these little robots and markers. There was little cameras in the front, and it detects the marker and it just follows it. And sometimes if you put the right sticker down, it does a little dance.
It's given them a good way to try out new things in kind of a low-risk environment. They're at school, it's already a familiar place. They get to do these activities with some of their friends.
We did like these gears and then spin it around. It makes like these cool shapes. And the last thing that we did, shadow puppets, but like with objects. And it's actually like really cool.
For me, it started with a form of childcare, right? It's going to help me stay at work longer. But it opened up this whole world for my child that I never would have been able to discover otherwise. I love it.
Keene Kids After School Enrichment Program is a great place for all Wethersfield students to learn, grow, and have fun.
These kids are amazing, and I see it every day that I come and see them. It means everything to me.
The most rewarding thing is when the kids are just really loving it. When you see that aha moment in them, you feel alive.
We're really forever indebted to the Keene Foundation for the impact that they have made that will have a lasting impact on our community.
It takes a village to do what we do. I hope that the program will be self-sustaining and that it can continue for years to come.
Thank you for letting us have fun after school. I love it. It's like an off-scheduled play date. You did a great job because I really like this program. And I think others would too.
Thank you, because I finally have something to do after school.
And the after-school program is like one of the funnest parts of school.
You should go there because they're the best.
We love Deane After School!
Wonderful. Thank you, Judy and Caroline, for all that you do for our kids in Wethersfield. We appreciate it. Thank you. Judy, I don't know if you had any other comments. Are we good?
No, just
okay.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Moving along now, Chief, we're going to have the police monthly report. I know it's a tough act to follow.
It's here. Well, we like to work under pressure. We take chaos and try to control it.
Do a great job.
Thank you. So, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Town Manager, Councilors. We're here for our bi-monthly presentation to Council for the Police Department, straight off his recent graduation from the University of Louisville Southern Police Institute 153rd Administrative Officers Course. Lieutenant Jacob Ocharski will be doing the presentation tonight. So as you know, we've been striving to make our command staff well-rounded with executive level training. He's the last. The entire command staff has now been through executive level training. We are the first town in the state to do that. That is equivalent to FBI NA training. So kudos to all of them. Those are the future leaders of this department, or some other ones. You never know. But that's the whole part about recession, redundancy in training. So preparing to replace me someday. So without further ado, Lieutenant Ocharski, stage is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Lieutenant Ocharski, oversee the patrol division in Wethersfield. Use these, but
you want to work this?
One or the other. Yeah. Chief, I show you how to work this usually.
It's a good team. It's a good team.
Without further ado, we'll go into kind of our demographics like we mostly do on all these meetings. Currently slated for 50 sworn officers. We are at 47, down 3. 41 male, 6 female, 36 officers are Caucasian, 8 Hispanic, 1 African American, 2 Asian, 26 lateral officers with 21 entry level. As you guys know, we're very selective in our hiring process. We do have a couple in the hopper that we're looking at, but to work for Wethersfield PD and to work for us, we're very selective and want to make sure we have the right candidates and the right people. So we'll see if we can fill those 3 positions in the near future. As far as calls for service, 6,342. This whole presentation is for March and April. This number is up around 500 from the same time last year. As you can see, it's kind of hard maybe to see on the PowerPoint, but on the left-hand side, the top numbers that are generated are numbers that are generated by our officers. Our officers are very proactive. They try to cover as much of the town as they can. But patrol checks, traffic stops, selective enforcements, community policing, those are all things that officers are initiating calls on. They're stopping motor vehicles that create hazardous violations on the roads. They're getting out, talking with the community, visiting businesses. And then when the community members call, either myself or any other division with a traffic hazard, if they see cars constantly speeding on their roads or not stopping for stop signs, they give us that location, and we send either the traffic officer or the support service division out to monitor, to assess whether or not we have to continue enforcing patrol hazardous violations, or if we can work with other divisions and departments in the town to maybe implement stop signs or speed bumps, or kind of get that ball rolling. So we look for the most accurate information as far as where the hazards are, and we kind of utilize our officers and our resources to those areas to try to combat that and make our town as safe as possible as far as the roads go. Motor vehicle accidents, 85. Same time last year was 89. Not a significant decrease. Accidents are tough to predict. There's not one thing we can do. It depends on vehicle conditions and driver conditions. What is consistent is the amount of no injury accidents. It's always right around 80% for non-injuries, which is a great thing. When we do start having those injury accidents, we start looking at speed and other factors, and we kind of prioritize our units to those areas to make sure that we can try to limit as many injury accidents as possible. As far as demographics, age, days of the week, that really fluctuates throughout the months and the days and the hours. We do find that biggest point of travel is during the beginning of the day and right when most folks get out of work. So we try to combat that by focusing our traffic stops during those times. And as you'll see on the next slide, it does make a difference. It does make an impact when we stop cars during the times when the most accidents happen, because those accidents are dropping. As far as kind of mapping, the locations of these accidents continue to be predominantly on the Silas Deane Highway by the major intersections, specifically Maple Street, and then the Berlin Turnpike by Arrow Road and kind of that general vicinity. So our traffic unit officer is out there. He's out there right now actually stopping cars and looking for the violations, and then he's reporting to me to let me know, yes, this area is a problem. No, it's not that big of a problem. Yeah, there's that one outlier. There's that one car that we stopped, and we kind of had applicable enforcement action for that. As far as motor vehicle enforcement, same time last year, for the last 2 months, we had around 750 stops. This year we're at almost 1,200 stops. Our officer's working. He's working hard. You'll probably see him out there. And not only that, but our patrol officers have also stepped up as well. Once they see him working, they kind of want to be like, I want to work too. And then they start stopping cars as well in those same areas. As far as demographics, it's pretty much the same as it's been almost every presentation we've been here. And then as far as, like I said before, the times of those stops, as you can kind of see here, our midnight officers are out right at midnight, which is that 0 mark. They're looking for DUIs, predominantly the most dangerous motor vehicle violation during that time. And then the spike is right when folks start going to work, because they have a tendency to speed and rush to get to work, and right when they're coming out of work for the same reason. Stops, you're looking at the map of Wethersfield, and if you were to take away the actual map, it would actually just show you the map of Wethersfield based on where all the stops are. We cover every road we can. Even the spots where you might see a side road and you don't see a green dot, which symbolizes a motor vehicle stop, that doesn't necessarily mean our officer isn't on that side road. This is where the stop location happens. So when they're on these side roads, and by the time they pull that car over, which might head onto a main road, it may look like they stopped the car on the main road, but it's because of a violation that happened on a side road. So every street is being covered. Every call that I get, every email that I get, any email that my command staff or the command staff receives that gets forwarded to me, because it's my division, I send my resources there, and we make sure that we try to keep those roads safe. As far as unusual occurrences, these are some of our major crime type stuff. Theft for motor vehicles has decreased from 26 from the same time period last year, and that is a testament to the community members locking their cars and keeping their lights on, not leaving valuables in the cars, leaving the windows open. We've been harping on that since this car theft and theft from cars issues started across the state. And we're going to keep saying the same thing over and over and over. We have it on our website. We have it on the town website and on the things that you can do. Don't let yourself be a victim. Just try to protect yourself and lock your cars and everything any valuables you might have. And then theft of auto is right around the same. I think we had about 12 for the same period last time. down to 9. Just to highlight kind of locations of where these stuff from motor vehicles are, a lot of times it's apartment complexes, it's locations where there are a lot of vehicles in one given area, and we routinely try to get as many patrols in those areas as possible, but continue doing your part as a community in locking those cars, and it truly does prevent and reduce those numbers for us. As far as town ordinance goes, noise complaints, 28. Parking violations, these are all-night parkers. As we know, we have local town ordinance for parking your vehicle on the road overnight. Our midnight officers are out there looking for those. There's times where we've given warnings and we give opportunity for people to correct that. Other times we issue violations, and then other town ordinance violations could be stuff like parking in front of a fire hydrant or other things like that. And then our support service division, we had 77 animal control calls. And then child seat checks, we have a Sergeant Kavana, Detective Gagliardi, and Officer Koshurik, who are car seat technicians. I think my certification I think lapses in a few months. If you have a car seat that needs to be installed, or if you have one that you thought you installed and you wanted to get checked, you set up an appointment with the car seat technicians. They'll be more than happy to take a look at it. They'll make sure that the car seat isn't past warranty, there's no recalls on it, and then they'll make sure that it's installed properly. I think I've installed maybe 75% of the police departments and their kids, including Detective Hillchuck's in the back there. So more than happy to look at it. I enjoy doing it. I have a 2-year-old myself, and all my friends that are having kids now. I take pride knowing that kids are safe and the car seats are installed the right way. Any questions?
Lieutenant, great job. Thank you very much.
sir.
Counselors, any questions?
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Forrest. Excuse me, Deputy Mayor Forrest.
I appreciate the car seat thing. I used it for my first child. The second child, I had it figured out, right? Yeah. Sometimes there's a little tricky though with some of the latches in the back there if you're not used to it. So thank you for offering that to our citizens.
Absolutely.
The one thing I did sort of notice by some of the numbers that you were presenting was this. I think that this was over either a time period of 1 or 2 months, but either way, the 73 disorderly conducts. I mean, I feel like it was a baseball game gone awry or something like that. But did that seem abnormally high? What makes up something like that in our town? Or?
Sure. So disorderly conduct we classify as a very broad category of classification. That could be anything from a customer at a store that may not want to leave, or at any one of our motels or lodging areas where they might have checked out maybe a little bit later or haven't checked out yet when they're supposed to check out. And when somebody calls and calls us for assistance, we kind of broadly generalize it as disorderly conduct. If it's anything more serious than that, then we change the call type to an actual call type, which may be more severe or less depending. So it's a very broad. There are folks within a 2-month time period. It is a 2-month evaluation, who may have just not been able to handle maybe somebody who's unruly by themselves, and they call us for assistance.
So this is really the call type. So is there, if it got out of hand, I'll say, then there's the infraction side of that would show up on the other side?
We would just classify it. So let's say it was a fight or something, then it would be classified as like an assault or something a little more serious. So it's just the way that we classify it so that we know, we have a general understanding of of what happened. It doesn't really tell the full story of what might have happened in that incident.
And does that number, I can't see the other data over time, is 73 a particularly high number? Do we see numbers, 50 to 100 in 3/1 to 4/30, so 2-month blocks?
It's about average. There's really never a time period that's like, the community's all disorderly at one time or whatnot. It just so happens to be, whatever complaints or issues the community members have with either businesses or within themselves kind of thing.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Further council questions or comments? I'll just wrap up by saying thank you, Chief. Thank you to you, your command staff, the whole leadership team, all the men and women. You guys do a great job. We're particularly proud that we have the lowest crime rate, thanks to all of you, all the men and women, and we appreciate all the work you do. And if there's no further questions, we'll move. Chief, I don't know if you had if you're good or any closing comments.
Let me give you one more stat. I know Deputy Mayor like this one. Because the EVs,
I love you guys.
Because the EVs out there. No, this is for you because you like that EV, that black one. I warn you about you talking on your phone, but that's neither here nor there.
This is on the electric vehicles? Yeah.
Yes. Just give you an idea, since the 2 months that the traffic unit has been reinstated, last month, he stopped 295 cars. This month, working 15 days, he stopped 296. That's outside of what the regular department's doing. So you take the 515 that the 3 other shifts do, and then his 296. That's what we've been doing in a 1 month period. So that shows how we're able to decrease these calls for service and attack the hot spots that we need to. So as we get more bodies, we'll keep creating these specialized units and making sure we're being proactive in the community. So just want to put that out there.
Thank you, Chief.
Right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. Okay, moving on, we have 2 public hearing items tonight. We have the Wethersfield Housing Authority and we have Charter Revision Commission. First is C1, the Wethersfield Housing Authority. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. For this item, I'm going to ask John Rumberger, who's the Director of the Housing Authority, to come up and along with the town planner, if he feels the need. But John, if you'd want to come up and just give an overview of the project and what you have planned, and then we can open the public hearing after that.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I'm John Rumberger, the Executive Director at the Housing Authority. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to the entire town and the Common Council and staff at Town Hall. You've welcomed me with open arms and with about a year and a half now in my role as Director. So tonight I'm here, honestly, to keep the collaboration between the town and the Housing Authority moving forward. So about a year or so ago, we were at a function at the Harvey Fuller building and looking out the window and saying, hey, what's that spot of land over there, with my foreman and then ultimately with Mayor Lesser and Fred. So there's a piece that borders Valley Crest that does not affect the playing fields. There's lacrosse fields and soccer fields. I coached forever myself. But there's this piece that we identified, started with Justin prior to David, and again, been well received from everyone in town. So we're looking to have the town convey this roughly 1.5 acres. We feel it's win-win, keeps the town engaged with the development process. It actually would help put Wethersfield over the 10% affordable housing goal. The law is known as 830G, which makes people cringe. Again, we want to work with the town like we have in the past. So again, about a year ago, I came forward with some conceptual drawings just to show the town leaders that this was not pie in the sky, and here we are today. So we can add, by current zoning, because Housing Authority and land is zoned as SRD, presuming we get that designation extended on this small parcel, the current parcel's underbuilt. So some people asked, and I sent letters to neighboring owners about a year ago, said, you want to partner with the Housing Authority. The town has input for sure, and that particular parcel, we can develop it and keep it off of Valley Crest as much as possible. If it went out to the general public, that 1.5 acres would be confined to just that, entry and exit off of Valley Crest, and the capacity would be significantly less. So we like it. We envision some sort of colonial architecture, keeping it in keeping with the neighborhood. And again, everyone in the town has been fantastic and happy to answer any questions. And David has more of the particulars on the town planner side.
Thank you, John. Appreciate all your work and your leadership with this. I'll open up to the council, and then this is a public hearing. Dave is going to talk about it too. Okay. Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually don't have anything to add unless the council has questions. Just in terms of the process, I'd be happy to explain the process pending the results.
Thank you, Dave.
And I'd just like to add one thing. With the resolution that's before you tonight, there was one change that John spoke to me about earlier that we're going to recommend, and that is the 5th whereas on the resolution. It's a whereas it was added by the town attorney that stated that the transfer wouldn't take place unless the Housing Authority satisfies that they've received all the funding necessary for the project. That wouldn't work in this case because HUD is probably the likely source of funds, or the state, and both of those sources would require that the Housing Authority had control of the site. So we couldn't make it contingent upon the money because it couldn't get the money unless they had control. So I spoke with the deputy mayor ahead of this, and that what we'd recommend is that we change that whereas to state that in the event that the Housing Authority does not move forward with this project in this term of 7 years or so, that then the land would revert back to the town in that case, as opposed to not presenting it to them, not transferring it to them before they raise the funds. So it's more semantics, but we want to make sure that they're in the best position to get the grants they need to do the project.
And that's the recommendation for the motion that will come later in the meeting.
Yes.
And just so before the counselors will ask any questions or make any comments for John or Dave, this is for age restricted, 62 and over, and the plan, if it all goes through, is maybe 50 to 70 more units. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I want to open up any counselors, and then we open it up to the public as well. So counselors, any comments or questions? Counselor Bailey.
This is going to be connected to the building that's there now, or is it going to be, there's going to be a separation?
Yeah, we envision it connected, still coming off that front entryway to 31 Butler as it stands.
Thank you, Counselor Bailey. Counselor Carbone.
How about parking for these people? Do you have a plan for a parking area? Will you just be expanding the current one, or is it going to?
A combination of both. So we actually have more parking right now than is needed for the current residents, which is great. And then if we build off of the back, we see parking extended back towards the back part of the building.
Okay, thank you. And then this one's for you, Fred. I'm sorry. So are you going to just eliminate the word funding from this and then insert what you had said?
We would actually change that whole fifth whereas statement.
Okay. What's this?
We'll get to that one week, but basically it'll be that that we will go ahead and transfer the property, but there'll be a reversion clause to state that if they don't raise the funds and don't move forward with the project, that land would revert back to the town.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Carbone. Further council comments or questions? Seeing none, we will now open the public hearing for just this item. The public comment, you have 5 minutes. Does anybody want to, from the public, make a comment or question about this particular hearing item C1? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you, John and Dave, and that completes hearing item number 1. Moving on in the agenda, thank you, John. Moving on to C2, this is on charter revision. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all are aware, you appointed a charter revision commission to review the town's charter, which is a requirement that it be done every 10 years. So we are due this year. And so the commission has been meeting for several months now. I think, Steve, right, you're going to come up and provide an overview?
Yes,
so
and Rich as well.
Please, Steve and Rich are both commission members that are going to give you an overview of their process and what their results were. And they have a memo in your packet as well that details all that. So, Steve.
Thank you. Good evening. Steve Barry. With me is Rich Roberts. We started this process. I'm the chair of the Charter Revision Commission. We started this process in early January and spent the last 5 months going through line by line the charter. One of the things we talked about from the get-go was this is not a policy document. You folks are the policy-making body in the town. This is really a rule, almost like the constitution of the town. So we went through line by line, discussed a lot of issues, had 2 public hearings, and came up with the final recommendation for you. My understanding of the process is that you folks can hear public comment tonight after the public hearing and then discuss it. I don't think you have to decide tonight, but I would defer to the town manager on that. We do have a timeline if it comes back to us, so it can't go too long, but that's my understanding of the process from there. just wanted to thank, this was a bipartisan commission, and it really was, we were collaborative throughout the whole process. Steve Kirsch, former counselor, George Kelly, Scott Wands, Joe Ciarcia, Christine Fortunato are all here, and then Rich Roberts as well. And Cindy Clancy, we had the benefit of her wisdom as well during the process. So the highlights are, the changes are in your packet. The highlights, just quickly, looking at in your packet, section 305 really was just to update the technology and frankly after COVID to discuss that you could have virtual or in-person meetings should you so choose. So a little bit of flexibility there. The next section was resolutions. One of the things when I served on council was never understood the difference between resolutions and public hearings. And this is to streamline things a little bit. There will be hearings on everything, but it doesn't necessarily have to be introduced, hearing, and then have another hearing. So there are times when certain grant applications and things need to be acted on quicker, and that's the purpose of that. Next item discussed, and again, this was something we talked about, and I would say it was a bipartisan agreement, was the to remove the residency requirement for the town manager. Thoughts behind it, and I'll let others speak as well if they choose to, but this is a town manager form of government. Want to attract the most qualified people that we can get. And I think in the past and trying to recruit folks to come in, that requirement can obviously create major problems for folks who are interested in the job. Having to sell their house where they're at, having to buy a new house in town if they aren't already residents. So gives flexibility. Again, town manager has to devote 100% of their time so to the job. It is a professional job, and I think the committee agreed that that was a wise thing to do at this time. Obviously, you folks have a chance to talk about that as well, but that was the consensus of, and I think it was unanimous that that's where we were on that issue. The remaining changes, there was a question about the fire department and allowing, should the fire department need a professional employee to allow for that under the charter. Doesn't require it, doesn't mandate it, but it gives some flexibility to the fire department should they need that assistance. I know recruiting volunteers is often a hard process, so there may come a time when that's needed. It's a document that's in place for the next 10 years, so really to give some flexibility there. And the last set of changes really had to do with cleaning up an outdated personnel issue. Frankly, that board, it doesn't really reflect the reality that 95% of the town employees are subject to collective bargaining. These sections only would apply to the handful of folks, frankly, I think in the town manager's office, and perhaps I think the town clerk is also sort of answers to you folks under the charter. But that's essentially the changes. Rich, do you have any other comments? Or?
Thank you. Yeah, I think Steve has summarized what the changes are. I think, just to kind of follow through on the town manager residency issue, it's nice to have the town manager in town, but one of the things that a number of surrounding towns, ones that I do work for, have found is that you essentially limit your pool of candidates. If, for example, there's a perfectly qualified town manager candidate who lives in Newington or Glastonbury, and they have a 3.5% mortgage, they're not going to rush to sell their house, take a 7% mortgage to move 2 miles. The different towns around here, Glastonbury, Rocky Hill, I know, have had a hard time with their town managers finding places to live in town. And, you know, not that we're looking to make Fred move or to replace him, but when you have somebody coming from Virginia, it's a different situation. You know, when Jeff Bridges came from Kansas, you know, he wasn't going to commute. You know, Gary Evans, Bonnie Therian, Lee, they all lived in Wethersfield when they worked here. You know, so essentially it's a change that allows you to have a broader pool of candidates to apply for the position. Ultimately, you're making the decision as to who you want to hire. If there's a qualified candidate from Wethersfield and you'd prefer to have somebody live here, you can pick them. You know, you can put in the contract that they have to move within 20 miles or something like that. So there are a lot of different ways to handle it, other than just sort of arbitrarily shortchanging your opportunities by having a residency requirement. A lot of towns are removing them as they revise their charters. The fire department change is intended only to provide the opportunity for professional staff as needed to supplement the volunteer corps. It's not a subterfuge to create a professional department or anything like that, so I don't think anybody needs to be concerned about that. And in general, I think the only other comment I would make in addition to what Steve said is that we received a lot of comments from the public. We received a lot of comments from the staff. We evaluated them all as far as, you know, what made sense for Wethersfield and how to kind of efficiently operate the government without doing harm to the kind of balance of power, for lack of a better word, that we have now between the town council, the staff, and the public. Not to, you know, take anything away from the public, not to take anything away from the staff, not to take anything away from the council. You know, the conversation generally has come up the last 10 times during charter revision about having a budget referendum. We talked about that at length, as they did 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And we decided, you know, basically based on the amount of time we had to prepare the report and the fact that, you know, things have worked reasonably well and that there may be kind of unanticipated negative consequences of putting a budget referendum in, other than just, you know, potentially prolonging the process in terms of eliminating the feeling that the council needs to do a diligent job. You know, they can just say, well, you know, let the voters fix the budget. Here, you know, it's all in your lap and you're responsible for it. So you have to be, you know, proactive and diligent about it. So that and you know, just general predisposition was why, you know, why we kind of steered away from that. But I think otherwise, you know, the intentions were to try to streamline the process in a few different ways, to take out some sections of the charter on personnel and employees that, you know, frankly, Labor Council said didn't belong in here, so it was not a tough decision. But otherwise, just to kind of try to maintain the structure that we've been operating in, you know, in a way that will work for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I would just add, sometimes when you come into a job like this, folks come in and say, oh, we've got to change this, we've got to change that. We analyzed every single line, and I think sometimes it's best to resist the urge to just make changes for the sake of changes. So these are the rational changes that we arrived at, and appreciate the opportunity to get together and do it. It was a good group. I hope I mentioned George Kelly and Joe CRC. I can't remember now.
Yep.
Short-term memory.
You got them all.
I got them all? All right.
Yeah, and Christine and Scott.
Steve,
I
Scott,
did, and
yep.
can I say it again? No, it's a really good group. Again, it could not have been more bipartisan in terms of experiences, folks from from who had served on the council, so folks who have volunteered, obviously on planning and zoning and town chair and the like, and members of the community. Joe, I know, is a dentist, so just well-rounded group and came from different perspectives, and proud to do the job, but now it's in your hands to decide whether to accept, make changes, and then it comes back to us, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. And
I guess the last thing I want to say just before we go is that Erica did a great job helping us out with all the, the organization. We're all kind of lazy and weren't writing things down during the meetings, so, she took care of all of those issues for us and, made sure that we stayed on track.
Agreed.
Steve and Rich, thank you for that presentation. Thank you for all the hours you've put in. All the other commission members, thank you so much. The town is grateful for all you've done. I know it's laborious work. It's very detailed work. We appreciate it. What we're going to do now is open it up for any council comments and questions. Then we'll open up the hearing to the public for any comments or questions. So, councilors, any questions? Councilor Carbone.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I'm glad to hear it was an opportunity for everybody to work together and get something done productive for us. So thank you for that. I do have a question. Anything that's been, I want to say redacted, but that's not the word, removed from this form, was it altered in any way, or is it just placed in another section? Because it says like a place in the personnel policies or collective bargaining agreements, or so if this was placed in, is it, under appointment section 803, was that put in the personnel policies?
I think many of those things are already
just removed
in the personnel
completely.
policies. to
Okay,
the
so it was
extent that they're
redundant
still-
to begin with.
Yeah, to the extent they're still applicable, they're in the personnel policy.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to check that. And then also, do other towns at all do biannual budgets, or is it always an annual budget?
Only annual. Some
Always.
towns do biennial, the second year being only for planning purposes. But under the general statutes, you only do a one-year budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm good.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council questions, comments? I'll just ask you guys, and so clarify for the council and the public. I think it's the council's intention not to make any decisions tonight and probably table that. But in terms of process, I know you need to get something back from us. Maybe you can tell us when. And then do all of these recommended changes, say we adhere to them, do they all go to a November referendum? Are some more substantial changes and some more language? So maybe you can comment on some of the next steps and what would actually go to referendum.
I'll start. I think to the extent, and Rich can correct me, I think this might be the first year, and I don't know if it passed, but any changes that get made will go to a referendum.
Okay.
The issue of the town manager residency requirement might have to be separated out, and it might have to be two questions.
No kidding.
That was a potential bill.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bill introduced this year that required certain questions to be set aside separately from the other ones for the referendum. Honestly, it'll be the midnight on Wednesday before anybody knows.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But generally, as a general rule, you table it tonight. At your next meeting, you have the option of accepting the draft report, at which point it becomes final, and then you worry about the details in August in terms of putting the questions and the explanatory text together. Or 2, you can say, this was good, but we'd like you to take a look at A, B, C, and D, send it back to the commission, at which point, we've got about a month to do that before we have to send it back to you. Or 3, you can say, this is junk, forget it, we reject the whole thing, at which point we go home, so.
That's very helpful. So, councilors, we will take this up in July, and we'll decide whether to accept it as is or potentially send it back. And then in August, hopefully, we'll be ready for sending it to referendum. If there's any, do you have a, Councilor Coburn?
About the referendum, will it be another special referendum, or will this be on the ballot in November? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
you
checking.
you want it on the November ballot because if you put a charter revision out as a special referendum, there's a relatively high voter turnout requirement that rarely gets met. You know, the city of Hartford 15 or 20 years ago tried doing charter revision at special elections, and even though it passed repeatedly, it failed because not enough people turned out. So, you know, frankly, this isn't the kind of thing that's going to get people tripping over each other to go out and vote in a special election, so you just want it on the November ballot.
Agreed, thank you.
Very helpful, Rich, thank you. Good. So at this time, we're going to open the public, and just so everyone knows, this is public comment just on the hearing, and right after this, we will have general public comment on anything. But does anybody want to comment on charter revision? Anybody for this issue itself?
It can't be like in the paper.
Mr. Young, this is on charter revision.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I attended most of those meetings of the charter revision, and I have to say that Mr. Berry was very fair in allowing the public to speak. He was much more fairer than this council is. And I appreciate the fact that he was that way, and you know, you got to give him credit. But with that said, a number of people came forward at the beginning and were asking for the right to have a referendum on the annual budget. I, for one, was in that line also. We had a number of people that asked for a finance committee. Is it called a finance? Board of Finance that would support the town council on all the purchases that are being made. As we've seen, purchases are outrageous with your vendors, your contractors. And we need to have professional finance people who are looking at these. And I wish that they would have considered putting that in the charter, that you would have support of a board of finance to look at every contract coming in. Is it right? Is it fair? I mean, look, we just saw a contract not long ago come in that you voted for that had a surcharge and mobilization charge. That was for gasoline or running their vehicles. And come on, all those costs are buried already in that company's overhead. And when they do their costs, it's already buried, so they say, oh, we want to put a mobilization and gas surcharge in. Well, gas is only $3 a gallon now. It's not $5 like before when companies were asking for surcharges. They're continuing to do it. And if you had a board of finance, they would have rejected that. We also have a very poor system of purchasing in this town. We accept what the contractors are submitting, and it's the same idea what I just said with the surcharge. They're not rejecting things, they just look at it and say, who's the lowest bidder? And they're all friends and buddies who are making the bids, and it's this turn for this company, and the next time this other company gets a turn at it, or selected. We need to have finance people who are looking at these dollars on these contracts and go through it with a fine-tooth comb. We should have that built into our charter as a directive in how things will work. So there was a number of other things as well. I mean, look at some of the other contracts that have come up in this town that should have been looked at by finance people. And one of them would be the Wethersfield Historic Society, the Little Red Schoolhouse, all these places that we rent down on the Silas Deane Highway for the transitional academy. We shouldn't just be taking what they want. We should be negotiating. And this should all be built into our charter to make sure that we're cutting costs where we have to. Thank you very much. And like I say, Mr. Berry was very fair.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Anybody else on the public hearing item with the Charter Revision Commission? And once, going twice. I will close that public hearing. Thank you. We will now move into regular public comment, and I'm going to read what I read each night. During the public comment period, members of the public will have 5 minutes to speak on any issue. We have a lighted timer at the podium to help each speaker be aware of the time remaining for them to address the council. When you step up to the podium, please state your name and address. At this point, the green light will come on, showing your 5 minutes have begun. The yellow light will come on when you have 1 minute left. At this time, please begin to wrap up your comments. The red light will come up when you have reached the 5-minute limit, and you'll be asked to complete your comments. I ask that you address your comments to the entire council and refrain from speaking directly to or about any individual council member or the audience. I ask that you refrain from any derogatory comments and any personal attacks, and always remain respectful. This section is for public comment, and the council will generally not engage in dialogue during this portion of the agenda. If any follow-up is needed, please leave your contact information with the town clerk, and the town manager follow up with you. At this time now, I open it up for public comment. Would anybody like to? Christine, I saw your hand go up first. Christine, yep. You, Christine. You. Christine Lazelle.
They were pointing at her before.
The Marist mom. The Marist mom.
Christine Kelly, Lucella, 37 Belmont Street. I just want to echo the sentiment of the Charter Revision Group. I didn't go to the meetings, but that was a great job. And hearing that there's bipartisanship, like you all know, I don't really like politics, and I'm independent. But it seems like they did a really good job working together. So just kudos to you all. That was, from what I heard, it went really well. So I kind of was sidelined for the last couple months. I haven't really been here. I have a couple of concerns or questions. Back at the May 5th meeting, ordinances and resolutions for introduction regarding the construction of the new schools and repairs and et cetera, are, well, they're on like page 3. And each one stated really just resolution authorizing the Board of Ed to apply to the commissioner to accept or reject a grant for the construction of a new Highcrest school on the Keisha property. And then there was 3 other resolutions on that same date that specifically say the Highcrest school on Keisha property. So tonight I was reading the ordinance and resolution for introduction, and it states the resolution to appropriate the funds for the construction of a new Highcrest Elementary School and renovations and improvements to the other schools. But it doesn't specifically say Highcrest. And as I went through, I mean, it says Highcrest, it doesn't say on Keisha property. So my concern and my question, if anyone can or is allowed to answer that, is that going to be in the final referendum? Because at the end, I guess this is an example of the referendum. It does not state Keisha property, and I just have concern that I wouldn't want it to be approved and then turn around and say, well, we never said it was Keisha, we just said a new school. And I've had people ask me that. Is there any funds going to be set aside for any improvements on the other schools? So once, let's say this referendum goes out, it passes, new school is getting built, kids are attending Highcrest. Highcrest and Hamner School have been touted as the worst schools in our town, but I don't want to leave out Emerson, Charles Wright, or Webb in the event that there's anything that needs to be done. And me and my little brain doing the math, Hamner's 10 years away. Charles Wright might be sooner, but if something goes wrong, is there going to be funding left on the table even for Highcrest? Because Highcrest has to house all these children for the next 10 years. And forgive me if this was stated, like I said, I haven't been here. And then my last question, and people have brought it up and mentioned it, and I don't have an answer, and I like to know the facts. Why is the school referendum being held in September, or discussed about being held in September, as opposed to 6 or 7 weeks later during a regular election in November, and potentially saving the town residents $20,000? And Mr. Roberts just spoke about the referendum for the charter revision, how it would be good to do it in November because you won't really get a lot of people out voting if you did a separate referendum. And I just wonder if that wouldn't be up for consideration for the school referendum to save us, because if somebody gave me 20 grand right now, I'd put my hand out pretty quick. So those are my things. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Further public comment? Yes, Robin, I have you next. Go ahead, ma'am. Robin, you're next. Jim, Mr. Woodward, I saw you as well. Yep, you're.
Melody Bogampani, 59 Toller Terrace. Hello, my name is Melody. You can refer to me as they, her pronouns. I want to thank the council for their involvement in putting together a Pride Steering Committee and to help organize Wethersfield's first Pride Fest, which we had yesterday. Yesterday's energy of love and acceptance was on full display, with people of all ages getting together to show that that everyone is welcome in Wethersfield. I am looking forward to PrideCon on June 22nd, and I anticipate on seeing the same energy on display, and as we help to educate the community on LGBTQ+ issues. I hope you'll all be able to attend, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you once again for helping lift the voices of the LGBTQ+ community and continuing the efforts to foster a welcoming space where everyone feels, well, like they belong. And I also hope that we can get the pride flag up on Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Robin?
Robin Barassa, 248 Dale Road. I'm just going to echo what Christine Lascelles said. First of all, I followed the charter revision a little bit, talking to a couple people, and I just want to say thank you. I really admire what I heard. I know it was a lot of work, and I personally, and I think a lot of people do, really appreciate the fact that you guys were a bipartisan committee and had a lot of mutual respect for one another. And in saying that, I don't always hear or see that with a lot of our very important boards and commissions, one being the building committee. That would have been really nice if there was some equal representation and bipartisanship that was going on, in spite of what previous chairs have said. That being said, we're looking possibly to put that on the November 4th ballot, or that is the rule of law. In doing so, I think we need to really consider putting the school referendum on the November 4th ballot as well. Like Christine had said, and several other people, $20,000 to $25,000 might be in a drop in a bucket for a town budget that works in multi-millions of dollars. But if we're going to be fair and considerate to our taxpayers, we need to have all that in one November ballot day, election day. Appreciate the fact that we're going to spread out the increase over 4 years, phase it in. Trying to find out, what that's going to, how that's going to affect us. I guess we're not really going to know. But I think people do need to know that we're going to still have probably have yearly increases, in addition to the yearly phase-in, in addition to if the referendum passes, which I hope it does. I'm not sure when that's going to start weighing on us as residents and taxpayers. So just some food for thought going forward. I liked when you speak of considering everyone in this town, so let's put our words into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Mr. Woodward?
Bob Woodward, 456 Middletown Avenue here in Wethersfield, and I'm going to follow Christine and Robin with please put the schools, the charter, and who's ever up for election this year, which I think is Town Council and Board of Ed and local people, put them all in there in November. People will come out. You don't have to worry about getting people out. They will come. It's going to be important, because we're electing people or unelecting people or whatever. We've got a charter revision. We can't run the town without a charter. And we've got school recommendations. Save the 20,000. Someone said to me, well, Millwoods Park had their own election. We didn't have another election out there for 11 months. This is 7 weeks. Take advantage of it. Save the money, put it all together, and maybe both parties can put something on their literature and say, go out and vote on November 4th, not just for council and Board of Ed, but for the charter and or against the charter, and vote for or against the schools. But there's important things on the ballot. That's a good way to educate people. The only other thing I'll add, I don't know what the bonding is going to add to our taxes, but it would be nice to hear, especially from the Board of Ed, but also from the town, that you might be able to do something to balance the cost of the bonds for us who are taxpayers. That would be deeply appreciated in these chaotic times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodward. Further public comment? Anyone else from the public? Mr. Young.
Good evening again. Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I'd like to join Christine, Bob, and
Robin.
What's her name? There.
Rob.
I'd like to join the three of them in asking to support a November ballot for the school referendum. Robin. Also, I'd like to say that I've tried to go on the website this week, and I see you have a brand new website. I sent a message to the manager this morning. I sent a message to him the other day about issues with that new website. I'm not able to click on the site that says emails for all the town council members. It doesn't work. I'm not able to find the last charter revision meeting, which was April 30th, I believe. It was done in this room right here. It was on tape, and I could not locate that anywhere. I could not locate older minutes of town council meetings. Prior to this, I could reach out to 2004, 2002, something like that, and see all the minutes and review some of those minutes if I was looking for something. And coming forward, can't locate them. So I sent a message, I think, to the manager today sometime. I didn't hear back from him. If you, to me, it seems like you went cold turkey with the new system. Whereas normal, businesses would go run a parallel. And they'd run it until everything is running right. But if you go cold turkey and something is wrong, now you got a lot of complaints. So you got a complaint. Next, at the last town council meeting, you had the young woman up here talking. She's, I think, the replacement for Kathy Bagley, talking about the playscape over at Emerson Williams School. And it's really amazing, only an 8-year-old playground, that the surface that they pour on the ground, that they pour on a foundation, is diminishing. It's deteriorating. And only 8 years. I mean, I believe someone said it cost $100,000 originally, and now 8 years later, just to do the groundwork for that playground, the surface, it's going to be $75,000. And you know, you just fixed some tennis courts over at the high school for what, $38,000? Because there were cracks, because you put black top underneath, and then you put this covering on it. And black top, we all know, shrinks and expands. Well, when it expands, it leaves a crack. And that's exactly what's happened. The manager also said that there was a similar situation down at Mill Woods with the tennis courts. So if we're having problems like this, the big question, and Montanero soccer field right next door to the Nature Center at Mill Woods, just a few years ago, that's what left me looking back further in 2016, 2000 whatever, trying to see when they originally talked about that field being too muddy and they had to put piping underneath. Well, they fixed it without the piping and then came back to the council some years later and got to dig it up again and put piping in now. And that was only maybe 5 years ago. The original repair was probably 15 years ago. And if this is how our town works, I mean, you know, there was a person that used to come to these meetings all the time and talk about how government hires unemployables. And here we got a load of unemployables who are being hired by the towns. Wethersfield. They're doing insufficient jobs. Our engineers should have fixed that water problem over at Emerson Williams 8 years ago. They didn't do it. Why not? They should have fixed originally Montanero Field as well. They didn't do it.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
They should have done the same thing with the proper stuff for the tennis courts. They didn't do it.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Your time is up.
These are unemployable people that we hired.
Mr. Young, thank you.
This is bad.
Mr. Young, thank you.
Absolutely bad.
Is there anyone further from the public who would like to make a comment tonight? Seeing none, we will move on our agenda to council reports. Does any councilor have a report tonight? Seeing none, I have one under council reports, and I'm going to take a minute on this because it's important to give the background, I think. So we have a murals committee here in Wethersfield that we formed late last year with the goal of having public art in Wethersfield. And public art usually enhances a community and when they've done it. And we worked with Rise Up, a Hartford organization. You may remember Matt Conway came here and gave a presentation. And through that, we formed a committee. I want to thank Councilor Carbone, Councilor Clancy for joining me, town manager, and we had other town staff and library staff. We also had Karen Letizio, Amanda Drew. If I'm forgetting someone, let me know. I think I got most of the rest for town staff. And what culminated is after Chief Schroll, did I say Chief? Chief Schroll. After many meetings, we decided that the first mural we would do in the town of Wethersfield would be a first responders mural, and that the artist would be Corey Payne, who grew up in Wethersfield, who's a cousin, a family member of the Sharkovich family, and he completed his work last week. And if you have not seen it, please go to the Pitkin Community Center. It's a beautiful mural. It's a wonderful tribute to Bobby Garden and to Robert Sharkovich. And it was amazingly well done. And I want to thank the Murals Committee. And we will be having a dedication ceremony sometime later in June. We'll invite all the council and the public and I want to thank again the members of the Murals Committee, and it is a beautiful, Corey did an amazing job. Those of you who have seen it, it really looks great. So thank you, the Murals Committee. That's all I have under council reports. Anybody, and I have a few, but anybody have anything under council comments? Councilor comments? Councilor Carbone.
So I actually have, it's more of a question for Fred. So I don't know if you want me to go last, because then he can jump into his comments if you want.
You can, Councilor, I have a few things I want to bring up.
Go ahead.
Then we can, but
That's
if you
fine.
want to bring up yours now, or do you want to?
No,
You have
actually.
the floor, so.
Oh, thank you. So I do have some questions regarding the resolution for the introduction, but I'll ask it later when we get there. But I thought it was I remember they mentioned the phase-in, and it just reminded me, didn't you say that somebody was going to put out some information about how the phase-in is actually going to work and how it'll affect people? Is that coming out anytime soon?
Yes, now that we've got all the data done, we'll be providing an update. And anybody can go to the assessor's office too and get their information on their property now.
Oh, okay.
And they can tell them what the phase-in will do at this time.
So is it kind of like a projection, so it'll show?
It's going to be different for everybody, so it's not something we can put out broadly and say, this is what the impact's going to be. It really depends on your individual assessment. So the easiest way is to, if you don't want to wait for your bill and be surprised, you can certainly reach out to the assessor's office. You can call, you can drop in, and they can pull up your property and show you what the impact would be year 1, year 2, year 3. Year 2, year 3, year 4 are going to be based on, obviously, those future year budgets as well. But in terms of the phase-in impact, they can tell you that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. And then I'll save my other questions for when we get to.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Any other council comments? I have a few items I want to go over. First, the Memorial Day Parade, which was a wonderful event. Thank you to all town staff. We've gotten a lot of feedback, positive and negative, about we changed the route and we changed the location of the ceremony. The goal was to try and get more people, and we definitely had more people, but it was a wonderful event, and it was a nice tribute. I know some people rode in the car, some walked, and it was a nice event. And again, another wonderful tribute. We are going to have, councilors and the public, a dedication of the T-ball field sometime in June. I think we have a date now. I believe it's the 17th, if I remember correctly. June 17th at 5 o'clock. Councilors, remember, we voted to dedicate the field to Judy and Dick Keene, and we're going to have a dedication ceremony. It's June 17th at 5 o'clock. It's a Tuesday, right after the night after our council meeting. We're also going to have sometime in June, this date is not chosen yet, but a dedication ceremony for the first responders mural. That will also happen in June. I want to let the council and the public know that on June 24th, we will have a ribbon cutting at 10 o'clock in the morning for Raising Cane's. If you plan to go, councilors and public, you want to get there at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning. The ribbon cutting is 10 o'clock, again, Tuesday, June 24th. They have a big following, and if you like chicken fingers, chicken strips, you want to be there. And my understanding is they are going to give away 20 people are going to win free chicken for a year. So if you want to get a tent and maybe stay overnight like they do for concerts.
The first 20 people?
Sporting events, the first 20 people, yes, are going to get free chicken for a year. So like they do for concerts and sporting events, again, if you want to put a tent out there. But I expect a very crazy day, a crazy turnpike. I think our police will be extra busy on that day, and maybe the first few days it's open, because when it's open in other places, the Silas, the areas have been very, very crowded. So that's coming. And just one follow-up, and the last thing is, you might remember, I know the council does for the public, that we've had the kid mayors and the kid board of ed chairs. Well, last week we brought them to the state capitol, and they got to see democracy up front. They got to go on the hall of the House and the Senate. Their names were recognized, which was a nice honor for them, and I know they and their families really appreciate it. That's all I have for council comments. We're going to move on to town manager's report. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. I was going to update everyone on the town new website that it is up and active. There are a few bugs, as was mentioned by one of the commenters, and this is very common in these things, but we've did our best to vet all the pages and hit all the links. The issue with the town council emails, there was no issue. We had multiple people check, and it worked fine. So I'm not sure what Mr. Young's issue was, but we did refer him to our IT to possibly assist with that. Regarding agendas and minutes, there are thousands, if you go back, what was on the old website, and that was on the old website provider. So they held all that data. We've retrieved all that data from them. Now we have to upload it onto the new website. So what we've done is we're making sure that we have all of this year's meetings will be up there. And then for the council, anything that's been done on the new Granicus system will be up there. So I think that's the last 2.5 or 3 years. And then beyond that, we're going to begin the process of uploading all the old data into the new system with the company that did our website. So that's going to take a while. It's probably going to be a couple of months, 2 to 4 months actually. And so by the end of the summer, September timeframe, we hope to have all those old meetings back up on the website again. In the meantime, if anybody ever needs any meeting, agenda or minutes for any of our boards and commissions, they can reach out to the clerk's office. We have all the data in-house, as well as providing it to our website consultant. So that will be coming. And if there's any other issues that people see on the website, because there's millions of links, there's all kinds of little pages in there that, we can't hit everything. So if there are any issues, just reach out to us. One thing I will say is we've gotten very positive feedback about the website. A few negative, but very few negative. Most have been very positive, stating that it's much easier to use, much more user-friendly. It's also much more accessible, so it has full accessibility for various handicaps as well as multiple languages. So people can switch the language at will for our website, which is something we did not offer before. And it complies with all the current standards, which the previous website did not. Let's see. Next, I will say that, as you all know, the fireworks were rescheduled because of the rain on this past Saturday. The rain date is scheduled for this Saturday, and the weather's not looking that great right now for that either. Unfortunately, we had to give the vendor that does the fireworks both our actual date and our rain date so they could lock those dates in. So if it does not happen this Saturday, we're going to have to regroup and see what we can do. We might have to set out another date further out or decide if we want to do them at all. But right now, our plan is for this Saturday. If you have a non-rain dance you can do, out there in the parking lot, please do that, whatever you can do. But our hope is to get these off. But if not, we will circle back with everybody. We usually make that decision on Thursday based upon the weather forecast. And then, again, with the phase-in, it was mentioned earlier, I will state that at the previous meeting, I did state that the phase-in is for all properties. It is not. It is only for those properties that saw an increase. So if your property saw a decrease, and there are several properties that saw decreases, and that's very common in a revaluation. If your property saw a decrease in assessment, you will realize that full decrease right out of the gate. So that was my mistake. In other states, they don't do it this way. Many states say that you have to treat every property the same. So if you phase in a reval, you phase it in for everybody. But Connecticut did that a little bit differently, so that was my mistake, and I apologize for the confusion. And I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Town Clerk's report, Sue?
The strategic plan quarterly report is included in the agenda packet for your review. Also, we began issuing new dog licenses today. We had a lot of steady traffic. Everybody should have gotten their cards today or tomorrow, and so we will be continually busy through the month of June. And also, one thing I wanted to mention about the charter revision, and this came up in a discussion earlier today, there might be a little bit of a question in the timing in regards to the new process of the resolutions. And so we will just bring this up with the commission and get it all straightened out so that it can be brought back to the next meeting without any questions. And within, so it will fit within the time frame.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Sue. Real quickly, before we move on the agenda, I've been corrected by a very helpful resident. I'm just going to read part of this. Not free chicken for the first 20 people. You need to register by 8:30 in the morning, and there's going to be a drawing after that between, I think, 9 and 10 or 9:50. So I apologize, I'm not giving the exact information correct about the Raising Cane's free chicken. So don't go in your tents beforehand, and because you have to register, and there's a process to do that, and then there'll be a drawing. So let's move on our agenda to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I move to pass the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we're going to move on to item K, approval of ordinances and resolutions, and we have K1. Do we have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Move to approve R25-010 to convey land to the Wethersfield Housing Authority and to authorize the town manager to complete the transfer of land shown on the attached plan with the following amendments to the resolution. I got it.
You got it?
Yep. Okay. Well, I got you, buddy. Where we're going to strike the language which says, whereas the land transfer will not take place until the Wethersfield Housing Authority satisfies to the town that it has all necessary funding and permits in place to complete the proposed expansion. We're going to add the following language in that place specifically. Whereas the town of Wethersfield retains a revisionary interest in and right to the land subject to the conveyance which may be effectuated if the Wethersfield Housing Authority does not obtain all necessary funding and permits to complete the proposed expansion within 7 years.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Clancy. Discussion on the motion. Anyone, any discussion on the motion? You raise your hand?
I did.
Deputy Mayor Forrest.
So when so the change, and this is all a little new to us all here, is my understanding is that under the previous language, the Wethersfield Housing Authority can't obtain the funding needed unless they have control over the property. And this particular language would not give them control over the property, and therefore we had a little chicken and the egg syndrome. We're correcting that in a technical basis here. I will note also that in my particular motion that I just made, I chose currently 7 years as a reasonable amount of time in order to change the project. The information that was just given to us, we're all doing this in time right here, is 10 years on this particular document that was given to us. I don't know necessarily, and I think it's definitely up for conversation about what sort of the gut appropriateness is of the exact number of years. But it seemed like 7 in our previous conversation. When I mean previous conversation, I mean within the last hour. Seemed like 7 felt about right for an elongated time to get HUD money and build and construct it, but I think that that's fair to have a reasonable conversation if anybody wants to change that.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? We do have a motion on the floor. Anyone? Yeah, Councilor Carbone.
So again, just to be specific, motions for 7 years, not 10 years.
That's what the motion that he made, yes.
Correct.
I just wanted to, there's a lot of talking there. I just wanted
It's a
to
long
make
motion.
sure.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Carbone.
And I didn't want it to seem like,
Yeah.
oh, you tricked someone by putting the motion different than that. I was going to be very
Yeah,
transparent.
and Matt and I had discussed this before because I spoke to John Rumberger earlier about the timing, and he said 7 years seemed appropriate and based upon the language. And it could also be something that if for some reason they weren't able to meet it, but it was right on the cusp,
Agreed.
he could come back to the council at that time and say,
We can just
all right,
do
I
that.
need you to
Yeah.
give me a little more time for this. And they can
That
do
was my next
Yeah.
comment, yeah. So, thank you. That's perfect.
Carbone?
Nope,
Good.
that's good.
If there's no other further council comments or questions, we'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes. Thank you. Moving on to item K2. Do I have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I move to table K2.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
If the town clerk could also inform us of any complications that she talked about related to the timing of resolutions in addition to the Charter Revision Commission, it would be appreciated.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And along those lines, oh, good. Sue, did you want to? What you were saying before, Sue, when you brought it up in terms of any issues related, I think.
You indicated you were going to tell the commission, but it would probably be good that we communicate with us as well.
So typically,
Microphone.
I my notes here. There's a note from Erica, too. Normally, when the resolution is introduced, then right away, the next day, put it in the newspaper for the public hearing. So because that there's 5 days, not knowing when things are going to be introduced, if a resolution just comes up, we kind of have to say, okay, and look at it and say, now, it can go in the paper on such a day, leaving enough time, and then find the meeting that fits best with that. If it comes up sometime within the 2 weeks between the meetings. So it's almost better just to leave it rather than change it, because this way we have a set process. Otherwise, we don't know when a resolution might just pop up and how it was going to be received in our office to be able to make the notice of public hearing in the paper.
Okay. So I suppose all I was thinking was if there's a concern about timing and some particular language, if you could share that with us, and if there's proposed changes, or even if there's alternate changes, like you could change it for alternate A, you could leave it as it is, alternate B. It would be good to be able to see the concerns so we can act appropriately.
Yeah, it just came up and just kind of talking it out, it all of a sudden just seemed like it didn't quite make sense.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your insight.
And I would say that, so you don't need the full 2 weeks to advertise, correct? You need,
No, we just need the 5 days.
right, so that would be what we do. I mean, I would say I spoke to the commission about this because they asked me, my preference was to just eliminate the need for the public hearing for resolutions. We're one of, I don't know, 1 or 2 communities in the whole state that have this requirement for a public hearing, introduction and public hearing for resolutions. Most of them, they just come on the meeting, so you don't need to do that step. You don't need to advertise it, so therefore it's not an issue. But the commission had strong feelings that they felt it was an extra added layer of public input that was very important, and I completely respect that. I think that the way that they presented it makes sense to us because there are those cases where grants in particular require a resolution of this body, and it would require 2 meetings to make that happen, and a lot of times we have missed grant opportunities because of that requirement. Whereas if the date would now be, instead of 2 weeks, whatever Sue needs, the 5 days, the 6 days, we can back it off and say, must be submitted by this, otherwise we're not going to do it. And if you don't have time to advertise it, you don't have time to advertise, so it can't be on it. So it would buy us a little bit more time, frankly, for those situations. They're rare, but they have come up. So it's something that I think is important enough that we do implement some kind of a change. Again, my preference is get rid of it, but that wasn't the thought of the commission. Yeah, you can.
Steve, did you want to make a comment?
Well, I can just echo what Fred said. It was the
podium.
Steve, for the public's benefit, maybe you can come up here and just your name and address. Steve, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. Thank you.
My name is Steve Kirsch, 65 Bailey's Lane, member of the commission. That's what I'm here specifically for. Our whole intent was to unbridle the town from the requirement of timing. And if that flies in the face, Sue, of what you want to do, clearly that's a no-brainer for us, because we don't want to have you not be able to do something that you want to do. No. So it should be consistent with the wording. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yep.
Where's the wording
Okay.
in here?
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. So we do have a motion to table on the floor. Are there any other discussions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes. Thank you. Moving on our agenda to unfinished business L1. Do I have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to allocate $233,090 in capital reserve funds for the Silas Deane Middle School HVAC and chiller project.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
And Counselor Rhodes. Discussion on the motion. Counselor Bailey.
Is that for the roof?
It is not.
The chiller I thought was all set. We had already.
No, this is actually a correction, because what happened was, previously, with the grant money and the money that the council has allocated for this project, there was money that has been spent for the design, and that wasn't taken out of the proper account. So it showed as the account being full. So when we got the bids that met it, you all awarded the bid, but then we realized that money was spent out of the wrong account. It was an accounting error. So then we went back and we said, because this is the amount essentially that was spent on the design work for the chiller and for all the work being done. So we're asking you to allocate some of the capital reserve money to backfill that, because the bids came in higher than we thought, frankly. So that's what, and I had mentioned in a previous meeting that was the case, but it was more than I thought, because of the error that was found once they went back and they were doing the year end.
So this $233,000 was already spent?
Correct. Well, technically, there's money in the account still, because we have not signed that contract that you all approved. Until this money gets allocated, I won't sign a contract until I know all the money is there, which is when this came up. So I'm coming back to you all saying it was a staff mistake, but we need this additional money to get this project completed. But you all approved the roof separately.
Counselor Bailey. Good.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Other council questions or comments? Counselor Carbone.
Thank you for your honesty with that. That's the first I'm hearing of that was an accountant error or an error. So the money that was taken out of the other account mistakenly, so the account that it was supposed to be taken out doesn't have that money in it?
I'm sorry, so you're asking?
Yeah, I'm thinking, so if you have two accounts.
Right. So
and you took it out of the wrong account, so is the money not available from the other account that it was supposed to be taken out of?
No, it actually has now been taken out of the proper account, but that leaves us that much short. So there was just so there's...
So not only was it taken
There's
out
all
of the
kinds of checks being done, and this was caught in a recent check of that other account, saying, wait a minute, where did that money go? And then we figured out it was a mistake. So now we took it out of the proper account, but that leaves our account $233,000 short.
So this is just because we don't have enough because the project came in higher, not because of it, not because
Correct.
we miscalculated or the money got spent somewhere else.
Well, we would have asked for this sooner, but yeah, we would still have asked for it.
Okay.
Because the bids came in higher, and that was the low bid, was that much higher than everything else, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's got to get done, so.
All set, Counselor
Yeah,
Carbone.
thank you.
Further council questions or comments? Hearing none, seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes, thank you. We have no new business. We now are on N1 ordinances and resolutions. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the ordinance for the appropriation of the proposed $239 million construction project for the first phase of the elementary school projects, which would be a new Highcrest Elementary School and renovations and improvements for the Samuel Webb Elementary School into a 5-6, and then the renovation as new of Charles Wright Elementary School. And it also authorizes the issuance of bonds and notes for the town in the amount of not to exceed $140 million. That's based upon the estimates of the Downs construction. And we're hoping that number's actually lower, and we'll know once we find out what the reimbursement rate will be from the state, which we hope to hear fairly soon. But this is based upon previous allocations, so that's what this number is based off of. Happy to
Thank you,
answer
Mr. Town Manager. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Carbone.
Nobody else raises their hand.
And this is for introduction, so we will have a public hearing on this, and the bond council will be here at the next meeting. I should have
And then
stated
vote at
that.
the next meeting.
Yeah.
I know, I understand that, thank you. I just think sometimes it's nice to discuss things prior to, give everybody a little time to marinate and think about it and get some questions out there as opposed to the day we're voting on stuff, so.
Go ahead, you have
Thank you, I appreciate that. So I have to agree with one of our public comments about the removal of the word Keisha, but this isn't the wordage of the actual referendum that you're looking at, is it?
So part of the resolution does include this language for the referendum language. So what you can do, that's something that can be changed, and you can have bond counsel make those changes. You can add, as long as it's within the ability of the state statute to do, but this sounds like adding Keisha wouldn't be an issue, but I defer to
Again,
bond
something like
counsel.
That would be good 2 weeks before, right before we're
Sure.
talking about it and going to hearing.
No, I think it's a valid point.
That would be great, thank you. I don't know who you need to talk to about doing that, that would be wonderful. Also, we had talked about it before, so I'm assuming and I'm hoping, but you know what they say about assuming, that when the bond counsel comes in 2 weeks, they will give us a more detailed cost analysis and breakdown? No, you shook your
No, the
head.
bond counsel doesn't do cost analysis.
No,
I mean,
somebody. Who's going to do that?
So, no, what you received from the last presenters, Downs Construction,
Yeah.
they provided you the spreadsheet. That's as much as you're going to get right now because of where we're at in this process.
But I remember last time before we went to referendum, it was, I mean, this is great, but I mean, I know our taxpayers, because you have discussed, and I'm sure I want people to be aware.
You're talking about language with respect to what the tax impact will be?
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
that's something that
Okay.
we will have.
In 2 weeks.
No, we'll have well, it depends on how soon we can get the data, our reimbursement rate from the state.
Okay.
If we have that in 2
Might be
weeks.
higher than 56%, which
Our hope is that
very
it's higher
exciting.
than 56%. And so once that happens, once we know that number, then we can have a better estimate of what the impact will be to the taxpayers with respect to, mill rates and those types of things.
Okay, awesome. So then, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so again, and it's funny how everybody's talking about the same thing, so it's clearly on everyone's mind. Hamner and Keisha are the last schools to be taken care of. Hamner will be renovated last. Highcrest is going to be operational for the entire length of the 2 referendums and projects. So this money, I know under the item description, you say it can be expended for site improvements. Does that pertain to those buildings that may need things that come up because apparently Highcrest is disgusting and it's killing our children and the blah, blah, blah. So, but it's going to be operational for 10 years. So how do we?
That would have to be done separately by the council. Council will have to allocate separate funds, like we've asked for funds for Highcrest, for Hamner,
just
for many, many years.
Is there any way we could tie that in? Because I feel like asking for it the way we do, but it already going out to bond, can we, I hate to ask, like,
You
tag
could
on a little
certainly,
towards them?
I think we'd have to look at the language. That's a good question for bond counsel. We might have to change the language a bit to state that some of the proceeds of the bond could be used to maintain the existing schools until this project is done.
Because we're going to be stuck in the same situation we've always been in. Highcrest is going to have an issue. We're not going to be able to afford to fix it.
But as it's worded, I don't believe you could do that, but there might be a way that we can formulate it to do that.
Okay.
Again, that would be largely based on if we get a higher reimbursement rate and we keep the not to exceed amount where it's at, then there's a possibility to do that, to bond some of the money to upkeep the existing schools, and that would be the council's decision to do that.
So we'd have to talk to bond counsel prior to that.
Yeah, we might need some language changes in order to allow that.
Okay.
But be very clear with what the bond can be used for, and as it's worded right now, that's not within that definition, I don't think.
And then also, and this is just for people's benefit too, and we had discussed this privately, I was kind of, I just questioned why when we went out to bond the first time, we had to bond for the entire amount, whereas this, we're doing half of the amount, a little bit more than half the amount. So I just wanted people to understand that now apparently our new bond counsel says we don't have to bond out for the full amount, so we're not on the hook, God forbid, the money doesn't come in from the state.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, I'm good.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council comments or questions? I have a few. I want to also comment on the public question and that Councilor Carbone mentioned. I know the bond applications state the school on Keisha Farm, but I'm sensitive and think it is a good recommendation if we are able to maybe look at the language and put that in. But I know the applications to the state, the bond applications, do state the school on Keisha Farm, the actual bond applications. The other comment I wanted to make was related to the reimbursement rate. So this is really important. Obviously, if it passes, it affects all of us, how much we pay. We've been talking to our legislators and asking them and telling them how important this is to the town of Wethersfield. And as most of you know, but those of you who don't, the session ends at midnight on Wednesday, and they are working hard to increase. Our rate is 56%. It has gone into the bond package as 80%. That doesn't mean we'll get 80. That was the ask, and it's in the bond package to get 80, and we're talking, lobbying, whatever the words, to ask for that. I hope it's between 56 and 80. 80 would be great. 56 is where we're at now, so somewhere in between. Obviously, that's less cost for all of us if, again, it passes the referendum. So we should know, I'm hoping, when the session is over, and that would be nice to know that before we actually, if possible, our vote is June 16th, or scheduled to vote at our next meeting. So if there's no other questions, we are not voting on this tonight. It was just for introduction. So if there isn't, we're got another public comment section. So now anybody in the public wishes to speak, please state your name and address again. Yes, Christine?
Christine Kelly LaSella, 37 Belmont Street. So I think we hit 2 of my 3 concerns or questions, and like I said, I don't know if y'all can answer them, but I do remember when you said you had a second council comment section, that might be an opportunity for you to answer questions. So I'm going to play Jeopardy. I'm going to ask them like questions, and you sort of already did. Answer, will the referendum state a new school, a new Highcrest school on Keisha Farm, which I think you've kind of said that has to be asked. Is there going to be money set aside for the improvements or any other, for Highcrest, Swing School, Hamner, Charles Wright, Emerson, and Webb? But the last question, which nobody really has answered, why is the school referendum being discussed to be held in September rather than in November? And that's just a question if the mayor, or the deputy mayor, or the town manager is at liberty to answer that. There's a lot of question and concern, and like I said, I would just rather know rather than speculate and guess. So if someone can do that during the next council comments, that would be cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Further public comment. I saw Mr. Young's hand. Mr. Young.
Good evening. Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I'm sure you all received a number of downloads from me regarding, I remember at the last meeting, Ms. Carbone was asking about the old academy issues. It went on to the Kinney Center. I got up here and spoke about the Kinney Center and the different, and the old academy, the Standish House. All these things were all mixed in at the last town council meeting. And I decided to send you all a copy of those contracts that I have, that I've received from the town of Wethersfield over a long period of time. I've also received the financials from the Wethersfield Historic Society, from the town. They won't give them to me, but the town gets them and then provides them to me. And as you have noticed, there was a number of pages that I had provided. I don't think I need to really talk about them very much, but you know, there was a page called number 19 that really gave a good rundown of the different amounts of monies that the Wethersfield Historic Society gathers money from, or rental fees. Here the Wethersfield Historic Society gives us $100 a year to rent our property. And then they turn around at the Kinney Center and they're renting out for $500 a month or $600 a year to the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce. Now, What's ugly is when they rent it to them, to the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce, they also have to provide them electric, gas, oil, a nice water, all the utilities. We end up paying for them, for the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce, which is totally unfair to the taxpayer. It's also totally unfair that we have to support the Wethersfield Historic Society at the Kinney Center for all of these costs, for running their own operation. Then we go take a step over to the old academy, and we're paying there as well all of those costs per a lease that was signed back in 2007 for 50 years. And it's a shame that the town council charter revision allowed that to happen. When the contract is signed, all these town councils going forward have to respect that, just because 9 people voted for it. And when you read those contracts, I've read them numerous times, I mean, there was nobody representing the town of Wethersfield when those contracts were written. I don't see anything in there protecting us. And for the $100 a year is all we're going to get. We pay all the expenses except for $3,000 in the aggregate. In the aggregate, for all those properties, $3,000 is all they have to pay for utilities. And I remember the last time we were paying like $50-some thousand as taxpayers. Now, going to this other page, this one here, it has number 19 on the bottom. That spells out all the different rents that they get from the Standish House, from wherever they get. I mean, they're collecting a lot of money. They were the best business people in the world. The town of Wethersfield's representatives were the most worthless people in the world. They did not represent the citizens of Wethersfield. They represented everybody on that team represented the Wethersfield Historic Society, because there's nothing in there that protects us, and it's for 50 years. How many town councils have to consume or pay for all those fees, all those electric bills, all those water bills, all those gas bills, trim all the lawns and remove the snow and wash the windows?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Horrible people that represent us.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you. Further council.
Horrible.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Further public comment this evening. Any councilors' comments? I'm just gonna. Oh, Councilor.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Councilor,
Go for it.
you gotta speak up.
I did. It's no longer timely, but it's an important chicken correction, which is that the ribbon cutting itself is actually at 8:45.
Oh.
According to the letter that we got this morning from Joya and from the chicken people.
Are you sure that's not telling us to get there then?
It says the ribbon cutting will occur at 8:45.
Okay.
They will be open for business at 10.
8:45, I stand corrected again.
Sure. You're giving a lot of misinformation out here
Basically,
tonight.
just go now.
Just want to get some chicken.
just leave right now. Get
Anything else? Thank you, Councilor.
That is all.
Check the website.
Councilor Carbone.
Hold on, I just got so distracted. Sorry, I'm chicken people. Yeah, chicken. Yes, thanks. You'll find a council. So typically, we're not supposed to use this as a question and answer. However, that was on my mind too about, the monthly, the September referendum as opposed to the November referendum. And I will share my thoughts on it. I won't speak for anybody else. I really want the referendum to pass. And I know, as much as I do not want to spend our town's money, and I think everyone who knows me knows I try to be frugal with our money. I was going to push back on this. I've spoken to several people, and I think the reasoning behind having a separate referendum is because it increases the chances that it actually will pass. And I see you shaking your head, so you've heard the same thing. That there are several towns that have done this model where they did it on the November referendum, and the school referendums weren't passing. They switched it to a separate referendum, and then they ended up passing. So it makes me selfish saying I want it to pass, but I would like that to happen for our town, especially if we can get an 80%, please, I hope you're watching, give us 80%
Yeah, it's a big deal.
reimbursement rate. That would be huge, and then it's a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer for us. We might not have that opportunity again. Having said that, I completely understand the not wanting to spend extra money because we are being, everywhere we turn, everywhere we look, it's costing us more and more and more just for, you know, the phase-in and after the reassessment and then this. So I apologize if that's not a very popular opinion, but that's the one that I have. I'm still mad at Mr. Forrest for the $30,000 art history project that nobody complained about except for me. So I think that was a very different thing. I think it impacted, getting a referendum impacting the schools, and I'm sorry I had to throw you under the bus like that, but it still bothers me. Or doing something like that, I think the money could have been spent on this, and it would have been a little bit better received from me anyway. So that's my final council comment.
Any other council comments or questions? I will just, Jane, I'm sorry, do you?
Yeah, just to confirm that's the information that we've gotten as well, is that the chances of the referendum passing is significantly increased if it has its own, if it's standing alone. And so I support that as well. Just wanted to back you up on that, because it's tricky, it's extra money. We also don't know that it's 20,000. That is a number that was put out there. It could be more, it could be less.
I hope not.
But just wanted to back you up on that.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes. Further council comment?
One more thing.
I'm just going to add to that. Oh, go ahead. I'm going to add to the same thing.
Sorry, it's also the location of the referendum has been come into question a lot, because I know we're discussing having it at all the polling places. So again, trying to make this a comment and not full of questions, it was explained to me that because many of the residents had complained after the Mill Woods that it was only in, and you're shaking your head because you're saying yes. But I think that's going to have some pushback, and I don't know, maybe it would save us money if we did just do one polling center, so maybe something to think about in the moving forward. But I do understand that people had complained and wanted it at all the typical polling places, but something to think about, and I'm done, I promise.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. I too support Councilor Carbone and Councilor Rhodes in terms of a September referendum. In addition to the reasons that the two of them stated, I feel that this issue is so important to the town, it should stand on its own. It's one of the most important issues that this council and this town has and has had, is the future of our town and our schools. And we want to lift up our schools. We want to lift up our community. I believe we all win if it passes. And I support what Councilor Carbone and Councilor Rhodes, and I feel it's so important it should stand on its own. I don't have any other comments in this last section. Does anybody else have a comment before we move to adjourn? Oh, are you making a comment or are you moving to adjourn?
A comment.
Comment. Deputy Mayor Forrest.
I'm sorry.
No,
I apologize.
I'm curious, because I've also thought about the multiple polling places versus a lower number of polling places, whatever that might be. Do you have any thoughts on what your preference or just even just general thinking would be about that?
About where to have it polled?
Well, you could have one polling place, you could have all of them open like we do in a general election, but as you say, like, one version does cost more money than the other, and curious if you had any thoughts on that, because it was an interesting comment.
We did it at Pitkin, and we had a turnout, and it has the parking. I don't know, it's probably a more
you could do it here,
or we could do it here at the
like
town
they have lots of times they're voting here. That
maybe we could put some numbers together for cost to see how much that would
Yeah, the registrar has the numbers for the cost of one polling place versus all of them. I would say that the feedback we got from the Millwoods was that it was confusing to residents that are used to voting in a certain place every election, and when you change it, it's confusing for them. And we had several reach out and say, where am I supposed to vote? I don't understand this. And we said, well, we publicize it. It's, well, you know, you have to go to Pitkin. Where? Pitkin, I've never gone to Pitkin, you know. So it does cause some, and for something of this nature, we just felt it's probably more appropriate just to keep it as simple as possible for the voters. And that was the intent. You could do it in one. Now, there's a question about capacity. It was a different turnout, I think, from the Millwoods than you're going to see for a school referendum of this size. And yes, there's parking at Pitkin, but I'm not sure there's the parking that you would need to handle the number of voters that we're likely to see on a vote of this magnitude. But we could certainly discuss that with the police chief and see what their thoughts are as well, because there becomes a traffic control issue and some other things we need to address as well.
I think people would appreciate that we are looking into options, for sure.
And you can choose you could choose the high school, like with all the parking there. You can, which is in the middle of town as well, but, or you could have 2 polling places. So the option is kind of, I think, ours on how you want to do it, but it's a thoughtful comment, Councilor Carbone.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Forrest?
I'm done, thanks.
Any other council comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Carbone?
Second.
Second, Councilor Rhodes, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.